Let's talk a little bit about headless. I would say that headless is a common term in the industry, and we see that many customers are trying to adapt headless and composable architecture. But what we also see is that there is a huge marketing promise on headless on the one side and headaches on the other side by implementing those headless technology. And from our experience, headless, if you do it wrong, it's a kind of painful journey because you have basically a customer experience impact by divergent data structures because you have to pull the data out from different sources, so to say, maybe synchronization delays, point-to-point integrations on the APIs and API calls where you're struggling with. And I would be really happy, Toke, if you can just give me your perspective on headless and maybe headaches which are influenced by that strategy.
Yeah, I would actually say it started 20 years ago. Because 20 years ago, all developers with respect for themselves, they had built their own CMS. And I could probably ask any developers that has more than 5 years of experience and say, have you built your own CMS? And they would say yes. Yeah. So during the 2000 to 2010, everybody built their own CMS. Then they realized, oh, maybe there's time for a product. So everybody built, so there was a emerging of a CMS category. And there's a lot of good CMS vendors out there, Sitecore, Adobe, Umbraco, you name them. But then suddenly the mobile came and everybody said, oh, I need my content on my mobile phone in a different way. And suddenly the CMS category was emerging. But in the start, everybody was building their own headless component on top of the CMS. It was a mess. Everybody realized, oh, I don't need to build that API layer on top of my CMS. Yeah. And suddenly the full content stack of this world emerged and say, we are headless CMS. We can actually do stuff for you, getting the content to many different places. But where everybody is starting to realize now is that, oh, but you need something on top of the headless CMS because you probably also have a PIM source and a commerce source. So you need a way to orchestrate that data. You need a layer of orchestration. Then nowadays, everybody is building that themselves. But what they realize and what I do believe very sincerely is that there is a need for a new category just above the headless CMS that can orchestrate the data across the many different sources out there. And that is what we see and what we're trying to convince our customers about is that it's to understand this is just like the Lego bricks. So I've been working in the Lego group many years ago, and everybody believes that the secret source of the Lego brick is the Lego brick. But that's not true. The secret source of Lego is systematic creativity, the way that you can put all the pieces together. But in order to have systematic creativity, you need a building system. A building system that can tie new and old bricks together, that can make developers' ways of working much more efficient. You can only do that by having a middle layer, a building system, in the middle of many different headless components. I think to me, that's the headless headache that nobody really have realized. That don't build that custom layer orchestrating all the data on top, but you need to find a layer that can actually build that. Do you agree, Markus?
Absolutely. And that's, I would say, 110% that what we are also seeing in the industry. And if you see that people or merchants build their custom front ends or use even commercial systems which are integrated point to point with all those systems, then I'm getting headache because then you don't have that single source of truth. You have to deal with that massive API calls which have to be done to the PIM, to the ERP or whatsoever, which makes the site slower and so on and so far. And having that single point of integration also where you connect the apps or the website or the digital signage, that's basically the key to make everything below it replaceable and swappable when it comes to the capability. And basically that's the promise of composability, that you have that flexibility to swap everything out. So I would 120% agree on that, what you said.
Yeah, and I would just throw in, if you have somebody to build a custom, then you don't have the flexibility, because the minute that this guy is gone or this woman is gone or this agency is gone, then the promises of composability disappears, because it's like a house of cards. Nobody knows all the different data flows that is in there. That's why there is a need for a layer in the middle that you can control and handle in a nice and efficient way.
And basically, this layer in the middle is well known for everyone when it comes to a general system of records. Yeah, everyone knows that you need something like streaming, message broking, like Kafka or something else for your subsidiary systems. Yeah, but the way of thinking for the front end or for the headless front end is actually not there to have that duplicated orchestration layer in the front to swap the systems out. So if you put it in a nut, Toke, what's your take on headless headaches?
I think there is a lot of people that are starting to realize that with a headless system, you need a different setup. You need a different way of working. And you don't need to build all that orchestration that is needed because the PIM is now headless, the CMS is headless, the commerce is headless. So I still believe that there is a lot of realization in the market that all the things that you're doing today custom in order to orchestrate all these many things. You need to realize that you don't have to do them. You have to do something different. You need a layer that you need to ask for in your RFPs and so on. But it takes some time, and and for sure it's difficult to realize that maybe I shouldn't build it myself.
Absolutely, it's always the build or buy question, and if you're the smartest guy to build it, maybe then you should do it. But I would say in 90% of the cases, you're not the smartest guy to build a middle layer or commoditized software. Yeah.